Welcome to the 15th Floor, a Radiohead reaction podcast where a Gen X father tries to convince his Gen Z son that Radiohead is the greatest band of all time by introducing him to Radiohead music one song at a time. You'll hear his reaction for the first time, and you'll hear me gush about the song after I've heard it for a zillionth time and try to convince you of that. Jacob, who is the greatest band of all time?
The Beatles.
All right, well, he's in the right country anyway. We're getting there. You really think the Beatles?
No, it's just, I know that's what most people think.
You're just saying the answer you think, huh?
Crater.
No one knows what that is. All right. Last time we did Thin Thing from The Smile. We'll talk a little bit more about that reaction as we talk about this reaction. It's been a while since we've done a video that got realistic good views. And I think it's because we're doing some B-sides and early stuff, and those don't get a lot of looks. So we're going to Kid A, because Kid A, 2000's Kid A, gets lots of views. And I think we're going to not only a highly requested song, an extremely unique song in the library, a song that you will react to.
Yeah, I just want to... There's like 20 different words in this song.
A total of 20, you think? Something like that?
Yeah, maybe
like
not
that.
even that much. Maybe not even that.
All right, you're in for a treat. It is a simple song. Lyrically, there are something like 20... I won't even tell you yet how many notes Tom sings.
20 different words.
20 different words, yes. But he repeats a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This is called the National Anthem. Before we do the National Anthem from 2000's Kid A, I need to tell you that you're going to want to listen. Not just hear. You're going to want to let it come into your ears and into your brain and try to process what you're hearing before you write it off as something that it's not. Anyone who knows this song knows that it I won't say it's a grower. It's not one that has to grow on you because it is that unique. But you've already said you don't like big intros and you don't like big outros. Okay. But this is going to have to hit you a little differently then. I won't say much more about it other than to say that the National Anthem was recommended by Melchior Aksak, Mohammed Yayavi, It Me, Aaron Green, Marty Boom, Lucky Kid A, and Coleman Diaz. Maybe we should need to keep a score on the people that requested the songs that you like the most so we know which requesters are nailing it.
Our fans can do that.
Yeah,
they do stuff like that a lot.
Yeah, somebody will do that for sure. Remember, this is Kid A. It's 2000. We're 3 years coming off of OK Computer, which is their great triumph of the 90s. OK Computer is heralded by most people as the best album of the 90s and by many people as one of the greatest albums of all time. It regularly makes those lists. They were so locked in, so dialed in. Everybody was ready for this next album because they knew it was Radiohead. They knew it was going to be great, and we got Kid A. And we got songs like the National Anthem, which is the fork in the road. Either you love Radiohead, what they used to be, and you don't quite understand this new thing, or you absolutely love Radiohead and you get this new thing and you're going to love them forever. Let's not waste any more time. Let's introduce Jacob to the National Anthem from 2000's Kid A.
throwback. We're stopping at the end of the intro. So what I've noticed is that they're doing one instrument at a time. So they threw in the bass, and they threw in the drums, and they threw in the crash cymbals, and a bunch of other random crap. The drums remind me of the drum solo from Soundgarden's Spoon Man. I only remember that because I played it way too much on Rock Band. It was a good song to play. Like the bass in Spoon Man was a little bit quieter, and that's what that reminded me of.
This bass in this recording is Tom York playing the bass because it's a riff that Tom York came up when he was much younger. And so it's one of those things when you're a musician, not that I'm a musician, we'll talk about that later too. When you're a musician, you must get music in your head and trap it in recesses of your brain and think, I'm going to use that later, or maybe not at all. But it's an old bass riff, and it starts, and for a while, the bass, you think this is going to be, the bass is the king of this song. And then that crash cymbal comes in, you're like, okay, maybe percussion's going to be the king of this song. And then the Own Martineau is going to really take over. Do you remember the Own Martineau? So you're going to hear a lot of Own Martineau. So Own Martineau is Johnny's instrument. It's brand new to him at this point. He uses it from here on out. But right now, the Own Martineau is early usage for him. It's the instrument that looks like a keyboard with a string across with a little ring that he kind of uses that ring, and he goes up and down, and he can modulate it a little bit. But you can watch whole YouTube videos about Johnny Greenwood's Own Martineau ability. But it has that sound that you're going to hear a lot of, and he absolutely loves it.
This has taken a turn to the 60s jazz style. I think 60s. I don't know. It's jazzy now.
You're saying 60s because you just know it's older,
yeah.
And to you, 60s is ancient.
No.
Yes, jazz is the right word.
Yes.
Yes, brass has taken over.
Yes.
Not completely, but it's coming.
Weird. I don't even know what that instrument is, but that doesn't sound like they're trying right there.
No, that's a trumpet. He's going. That's a jazz. He's doing jazz.
That doesn't. fit with the song.
So I know you don't think it does. These are all they're playing variations on the riff, but they're doing their own thing for sure.
This is strange.
You totally get why it's called the national anthem.
Because of those last 10 seconds?
Because the last 10 seconds. Lots of stuff to talk about with the national anthem.
A little bit too much. Like, I can tell why you say you have to listen and not hear. Because if you hear a bunch of jumbled crap. But then when I was listening, I was able to tell hear all the different instruments. And then it sounded better.
You said it's very limited lyrically. It is extremely limited lyrically, and it's extremely limited vocally. Tom York sings lyrically 3 notes. That's less than Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's Mary Had a Little Lamb unless if your 5-year-old's playing it and forgetting to go up to that G. But other than that, there's only 3 notes here. With a bit of a slide, which is really quite fascinating, coming off of a completely lyrically and melodically rich album like OK Computer. You think of a song like Lucky, you don't know Lucky, you'll know Lucky. I mentioned this one last time, so I hate to keep mentioning the same songs, or Climbing Up the Walls. When bands listened to Radiohead and said, oh my gosh, they're doing amazing things, let's try that. And then Kid A came out and people were like, what? We were trying to do what the old Radiohead was doing. And of course, they were probably thinking, they messed it up. They messed it up. And then it turns out everybody loves it, and they're like, what? We're still trying to do the old Radiohead thing, and they've moved on. Anyway, it's just so different from what they were doing the last album, and they're not even afraid to do it. However, this song is actually a little bit older. There's an older version from about 1996-97. You can find it on OK Not OK, like special editions. You can also find it on mini discs Hacked, and that song is a little bit more of a rock and roll song.
The lyrics are definitely simple. I mean, this is how big the paper is, and those words are
and I put like
big.
16 font.
I think this was a waste of ink. I don't know. Like, I know we do it every time, but
that's all right. We live on an ink mine, so we're good. The horns come in fairly early, and you hear that, and you're like, "Oh, there's going to be some horns, neat." And then it just devolves into this. It is a lot of noise, but it's kind of this organized chaos. Because they're playing stuff. They're not just blowing whatever they want to play, even though that's kind of the direction they're given. They're playing their little variations on that riff, but they're doing whatever they want, independent of the person next to them. Watch the Jules Holland live version. You get to see these musicians really at work. All other live versions of this song, mostly from the Kid A tour. This is what they opened with on their Kid A tour. You're not going to get that. The star of that performance is going to always be the Owen Martineau. Vocally, the only other thing Tom does is he does sing along with the Owen Martineau at the end when he kind of sings what the Owen Martineau is playing. Johnny and Tom are conducting those musicians, and they don't, at this point, don't know how to conduct classical musicians, so they're just jumping up in the air and waving their arms and hoping that they'll, if they wave and jump higher, they'll play louder and faster, and if they slow down and don't jump as high. There's a lot metaphorically to look into of the sound of the jazz turning into what they call what is described as a traffic jam of musical instruments, which is what you hear at the end, as that swallows up what was a perfectly normal Radiohead song. There's a lot to look into there.
Yeah.
And this is an album that is bucking the system. This is an album that's saying, forget you, this is how we're doing it. Nothing sticks it to the man, whether the man is the record label, your bandwagon fans, anybody else, expectations, than doing a song like the national anthem and then saying, come catch us.
I feel like it's hard to make those connections on a first listen.
Absolutely.
Like you're saying, like it was a Radiohead song overtaken by the jazz stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense, because the radio, like after Tom York sang the main part where he sang, then that's when like the music started taking over, the jazz started taking over.
Yep.
And then you could still kind of hear the Radiohead stuff at the end, but it was hard to hear because there's so much jazz stuff going on.
It's just an example again of Radiohead just above and beyond better than everybody else at this point, because everyone else is trying to catch up to Radiohead of 1997, and Radiohead turns on the afterburners, turns on the Nas, and produces something like Kid A, which is just an awesome album. And then everybody else, you can just see everybody else in the rear view going, oh, all right, look what I got. And then Coldplay plays the Clock song, whatever that song is.
Clocks.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
You still have to give it a first-time listen score. What would you give the national anthem?
Without knowing the meanings and the ideas behind the song, I would have given it a 7. But now it's like, it's pretty cool. Maybe a close to an 8, maybe. I'll just say an 8 because it's close to an 8.
Round it up.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to sit back and not tell you some of those things, knowing that you understanding those things gives you a better understanding of why that song just sounded like it did. Let's see what the kids thought. So this is hers. She said drums, trombone, meaning trombone, guitar, and saxophone. She just, yes, and with punch, each one of those things. I think that's probably pretty accurate. She heard sounds and she's describing those sounds. Okay, so his takes a little more explanation, because that is a scoreboard up in the top left corner that says home and away. This guy is saying the Rockets, meaning the Rockets' red glare, which is a line out of the national anthem for those of us in the United States. And that's, of course, he doesn't even hide that that's a Seattle Mariners player wearing catcher's gear. I don't know why he's a big box, but it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. He's a big box. Mm-hmm. It's not a metaphor. It's just how he draws things. Obviously, someone as young as he is, he hears national anthem. He knows what the national anthem is. He doesn't know it has any significance to our nation or any nation and their national anthem. He just knows when you go to a ball game, you start with the national anthem. For those of you who don't watch very often, these are my little kids who I have them listen to the song. It's their first time listening to the song, and they just color as the song is playing, and they draw what their mind comes up with, and it's way deeper than you and I could ever go. Mm-hmm. So that'll get a lot of views because it's Kid A, I think. We'll see how that goes, because wherever we go next, it might not get as many. So please, if you haven't watched our other videos, go watch them so they get more views. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and hit that notification button so as soon as our channel, our videos come out, you can, oh, excuse me, I've got to stop what I'm doing and watch this reaction. from two completely untrained people.
Yep.
But we love doing it. It's fun. Radiohead's the greatest band of all time. Second only to the Beatles, apparently, to Jacob. I'm just kidding. He knows it's Radiohead. Continue to love one another. Keep listening to music together. You're now leaving
the 15th floor.